Hello, everybody. My name is Mike Demaro, and I want to welcome you to the latest episode of My Life with Asperger's. Today's episode, I'm going to be talking about moving on. I know it can be tough to move on, but I'm going to try to help you out and give you some tips. Because I know us Aspies, we have a hard time moving on. You know, like if something went wrong, it's hard for us to move on in life. If we lose a job, it's hard to move on in life. If we lose a girlfriend or a friend or a boyfriend or whatever, it's hard to move on. And if you had a death in the family, it's hard to move on from that too. Well, moving on can be tough on someone. Moving can be tough, like moving to another town or another city can be tough on someone. I didn't live in Davenport, Florida all my life. I'll tell you that much. I lived in Agawam, Massachusetts before I moved on to Davenport. So, but I mean, you gotta move on in life. There's no reason to stay in the past, Unless you have a real good reason. There's no reason to stay in the past. You gotta move on into the future. I couldn't live with the past in Massachusetts anymore. That's why I moved down to Florida. I enjoy my life in Florida. I know I'm still dealing with problems and I'm still dealing with situations and I'm still struggling, but in a way I think moving down to Florida was a good thing for me. Because I've made new friends and I started a whole new life down here. And people really enjoy working with me and seeing me and having fun with me. The life I get down here in Florida, I couldn't get up in Massachusetts. Or I could, but I was afraid to. Like down here in Florida, I know I had to start all brand new, but understand this. Even though I started brand new, I was able to have people help me out, and I was able to get new friends quickly enough, and one thing led to another. I met more new friends, and the friends total kept growing and growing and growing and growing here in Florida. So I really enjoy my life. But moving on can be real tough. Also, like you have to say goodbye to your old friends. I know that's tough, but they're always going to be your friends. They're always going to be your family. So it's just as long as you have contact with them, they're always going to be there for you. I know most of the time, no, they're not, but as long as you have their contact info, just contact them. Like email. Just send them an email once in a while. See how they're doing. Or chat with them on Facebook. See how they're doing. If you know what I mean. Because they'll always be there for you. Unless the friendship was a bad one or something, then they're not going to be there for you. Or you don't want any more contact with them. Let me say this. I'm going to start a new job next week. Training for a new job. Now, it was hard for me to say goodbye to all my people at Pizza Planet. It had to be done. Okay? The transfer had to be done. I'm still feeling a little upset because I'm saying goodbye to everybody, and I still feel a little bit uncomfortable with the new job I'm gonna get, or the new position. That can be hard. to say goodbye to all your coworkers and start brand new. But that's how life is. You know, you'll meet new friends, you'll meet new coworkers. You know? I know, like, every single semester we have all these college kids that come on down and spend a few months with us. Then when it's time for them to leave, it's like, oh no, we're gonna miss you, you know? But just as long as you talk to them online, you'll be okay. Or just as long as you keep in touch with them, you'll be okay, you know? Just as long as you have their contact info, you'll be okay. And then a new set of people will be down here, like 3 or 4 months, and then they're gonna leave, and then a new set, you know what I mean? But yeah, I know that it's gonna be tough for me to leave Pizza Planet after 3.5, almost 4 years working with them. I know it's gonna be tough because I've been there for so long and people recognize me there. But at the same time, it was something I had to do. I had to move on. You know? I'm sorry that I chose to get transferred out of there, but it's like I have to move on. I need to go into a new environment. You know? I know one of these days I'm probably going to be leaving Disney permanently, and I'm probably going to get a new job someplace else. You know? But at the same time, you know, it's gonna work out. I feel it is gonna work out. Because if I feel it's gonna work out, then I can build that confidence up, and I'll have a new and I'll enjoy my new job, you know? If I feel comfortable enough, things can happen. Whereas if I don't feel comfortable enough, things will not happen and I'll be upset, you know? But yeah, I already discussed about new people. I already discussed about a new job. What happens if there's a death in the family? You know? That can be a little bit painful to move on from there. I know the couple of weeks, couple of months, couple of years, yeah, they're going to be trying times for you. But as the time gets on and on and on, you'll feel more okay about it. Like in 2003, my grandmother passed away. She was like a best friend to me. She was like someone that I could tell everything to. When she died, I was feeling a little upset, alright? It was a sudden death, and I wasn't expecting it. I thought my grandmother would be living more and more and more. I thought my grandmother would be still living today. Didn't expect her to die when she did. Now that might be a little bit hard and difficult to move on from. But at the time, I was also unemployed, out of a job. But I was starting a new life in college as well. 3 weeks after my grandmother died, I started a brand new job at Domino's Pizza. And that helped me. That helped me out a lot. From the time that I started to the time that I left for Disney, Domino's Pizza has helped me out a whole lot. Because I have dealt with death of my grandmother, and the job helped me ease from that and get my mind off of that. Now, I'll tell you something. If I were to not have a job by then, or if I would, you know, the things would be different if I didn't get a job. You know, if I hadn't had a job during that time, I think my life would be depressing. I think bad things would happen in my life that I don't know if I would still live today. Honestly. That's how I felt, you know. I'm just very glad that life has given me an opportunity to get over the death of my grandmother and have a job, and I can work and I can make some money in the same time so I can enjoy life. And that's what God did to me, you know. Now I just talked with you about how to deal with death and my experience with it. How about a job? Now, I've been in a situation where I have both lost a job and left a job. Now, earlier in that year of May of 2003, I should say 9 years ago, I lost my job at Six Flags New England. I was fired. Now, it was a little bit difficult for me to deal with it. I kept writing letters to my old supervisors and my bosses and all that, trying to say, why did I lose my job? Why did you guys decide to lose my job? It came to a point that the very next time they saw me, they warned me that if I ever contacted them again, I'd be locked up in jail. I know that was a little heartbreaking for me. But by that time, I started my new job with Domino's, so it was like, forget it. I don't care about Six Flags anymore. That's why I haven't been back to that park since. You know, I know I'm telling my little secret out into the world now, but it's to help you guys out too. I know losing a job is hard. It's frustrating. You know, if I didn't get fired from that job, I would have quit because of the situation that happens. I'm not going to explain why I lost the job, okay? But it was that severe enough that I was going to quit if I didn't get fired. So either way, I was not going to work for them again. Now, I have also dealt with quitting. Now, I left Domino's in 2008 to pursue something at Disney. Now, it was a little tough for me because I was leaving a great job at Domino's for another great opportunity at Disney World. And it was hard to say goodbye to everybody. But I'm in contact with most of them today. I'm thankful for it. Because I left good intentions with everybody. I left good contact with everybody. I left in good manners with everybody. You know? I left everybody with good hands. So, you know? Good feelings about each other. You know? I left them with good feelings towards me. You know, good intentions. You know, but yeah, I have enjoyed my experience. Okay. Now, I already discussed about Domino's and Six Flags. Now, Pizza Planet. Now that's going to be a little difficult for me to leave that job and move on because of my experience there. I have already left them once for the parking lot. Now, that was kind of a little sadness, but I was a little bit happier then because I wanted to try something new. Now, this time when I leave Pizza Planet, I felt more sad than I did happy because of the fact that, are you serious? Is the transfer already here? It's like I applied for a transfer back in early May and 2 weeks later I heard about the transfer, you know. So I mean, it's kind of bittersweet where this time I left It was like 3.5 years. Whereas when I first left them, it was only like half a year that I worked with them. You meet so many people during the time, and it's hard to say goodbye to everybody. I'm gonna miss everybody. You know, it's hard to move on, but I can do it. You know, let me take a break from doing jobs for a second. Let me move on to college. My experience with college is a good one in school, because I know that you hear the saying, if you get a bad grade, you can always move on and try to improve that. I have dealt with that in college. I have dealt that I had a bad paper and I moved on to get good papers and good grades, I know it's tough, but that might be easier to move on because you are given another chance to improve, if it's early enough. If it's later in the semester, it might be a little bit harder. But earlier in the semester, you're given another chance to improve, So, you're given another opportunity, But what I'm trying to say is, moving on can be difficult for people. I know it's hard to move, okay? It's difficult because you don't know what the new environment's going to bring you. You don't know how the life is going to bring you in the future. You don't know anything that's going to be going on, except you need to start making it in the world. I know moving on can be tough for people like Asperger's. It's difficult for regular people as well, so you're not alone in that. I have a hard time moving on in life, yes. I'm still dealing with things that I need to deal with to move on in life. But I'm getting through them, It's like, it's hard to move on, but if you apply the right attitude and the right feelings about it, you'll feel comfortable, you'll feel better about moving on. I know moving on is tough, but you can make it. I already gave you some examples of me moving on in life, I just hope you can move on in life if you are dealing with something that's going wrong. Now, I have not dealt with relationships, like girlfriend-boyfriend relationship, as much as most people. And I know it's a little difficult for people that have broken up their relationship to move on. Some people wait days and weeks and years before trying to date again. Now, let me just say this. I have another example of a thing that I need to talk about here. I had been friends with this guy for like 10-15 years. I've went to the same school as him since I was a kid, and our friendship broke up, okay? And that was a little difficult for me because it was hard, because I wanted to write to him. Why? He didn't want to do anything about me, And it's been difficult because it was difficult back then because I was still going to school, but my grades took a dive for it because of it. It was like I was not doing that well in school because my attention and focus was on this kid, this guy. Because of depression that it left me. I was feeling a little depressed. I was still going to school, yes, but it left me a depression that led me to get these bad grades. I didn't fail, I passed, but in the very next semester it put me on probation because of it. You know? Because of the bad grades that I got. I know it was terrible, but something I had to move on from. And doing the Disney College program was my escape from that. But in order to do that, I had to get my grades to be better. So my focus that was actually my goal. That was my goal. So that was why I needed to get my grades better in order to do the Disney College program in the first place. Now, moving on from that friendship, it was difficult for me because I really enjoyed my friend, but at the same time I felt he was letting me down a little, and it's tough to break up a friendship here, I really don't like it, but what had to be done, Moving on has been difficult for me, based on that friendship. Like a couple of years after our friendship broke up, I tried writing him a letter, and he still didn't want to make up, or didn't want anything to do with me. I wrote him another letter a couple of years later, and I haven't heard back from him. So, it's hard, it's difficult to deal with that, because when his birthday came around, it was like, shouldn't you wish him a happy birthday? It was like, oh yeah, that's another thing I did. I sent him birthday cards until this past year, where I said, enough. I'm not going to send birthday cards to someone who doesn't care about me anymore. Because, I felt that if I did continue sending him birthday cards, that he's not going to... It was like, what's the point of sending a birthday card to someone every year that is not going to return the favor? Or return the thing, or return the favor by writing you a letter or something, telling you how they're doing. It's pointless. I know it might sound stupid, but I think it is pointless. Because it's pointless because if you send someone something and you don't get something back from, then what's the point? I know it's different if you send them a symphony card or something. That I can understand because it's passing in their own family. But like birthday card. Shouldn't I get a thank you for sending them a birthday card? I know it's tough to move on from that, alright? It's tough to move on from a bad taste. It's tough to move on from a bad experience with a job. But we all have to do it. We all have to move on. I know it's tough to lose a job. I know it's tough to lose a family member. But over time, we start moving on. We start moving on because we have to start focusing on the future. I know you might be a little depressed, but if you move on, you'll be happier about it. I feel depressed. I still feel depressed about breaking up with my friend, but I moved on with my move down here to Florida and doing the Disney College program and then living my life here. I have dealt with bad experiences with home. I moved on from that and moved down here to Florida. I have dealt with the passing of my grandmother. I have moved on in life by getting jobs, by working, by meeting new friends, you know? I know it's difficult, but moving on is the best answer in most cases. I know that you need some time to think about life, but moving on is the best possible move. Eventually, you have to move on, okay? I know it's okay to have a week or two or a little time to yourself to think, but you have to move on at some point, you know? You can't be sitting there all the time thinking, oh, what could have happened? What could have happened? You have to move on. Everybody's moving on. So, what are you going to do? Are you going to move on? Or are you not going to move on? You know? So, I just want to end it on that note. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Because I encourage you to move on if there's a bad experience in your life. I'll talk to you later.